I became Muslim at 16. I was certain and calm in that conviction. I believed I had found the path of all the prophets, and that following the final messenger, Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, meant worshipping the one creator alone. I thought life would open easily after that. I imagined clarity would lead to comfort. It didn't. The tests began almost immediately, and they were sharp and personal. When I told my family, the air in our home changed. My mother's husband hated Islam. He was racist and Islamophobic, and he pushed those views onto my mother. At the dinner table, they would make comments about the Prophet, peace be upon him, to provoke me. I was young, new to the faith, protective of what I loved. I tried to explain again and again that Islam wasn't what they thought, that it didn't oppress women, that it wasn't backward. I wanted them to see what I saw. Nothing softened their hearts. After about a year of this, when I was 17, my mother called me aside. She said, "If you choose to live like this, I've done my job. You're on your own." I can still hear it. I can still feel what it did inside me. To be cut off by your mother for choosing what you believe is true creates a wound that is deep and quiet at the same time. I stood between two roads. I could deny what I knew was true and keep my home, or I could hold my faith and walk out with nothing certain ahead. There wasn't really a choice for me. I believed in Allah. I believed in His messenger. I believed Islam was the truth. So I left. I was in college. I had to leave my education. I packed my bag. The house felt empty even before I closed the door. I found a job. I moved from East London to a small room in North London with people I didn't know. I paid rent. I bought food. I learned to budget. I learned to breathe through fear. I learned how loud silence is when you don't know who to call. I held on to my prayer. I held on to the certainty that Allah sees what no one else sees. I reminded myself that there is a plan even when I couldn't understand any of it. I went to work on time. I did my best. I kept my head down and asked Allah to keep my heart up. I was learning my faith while learning to survive. Years passed. I grew up. I became a mother. Looking back now, I see how young 17 really is. I wish I could hold that girl and tell her that the weight wouldn't crush her, that the nights would not last forever, that what felt like abandonment would become an assignment. I didn't see it then. I just kept going. People often ask me about my mother. They ask how a relationship like that could heal. At the time, I didn't think it would. I didn't think there would be softness between us again. I thought the door was closed, and that was the end of the story. But hearts belong to Allah. More than 20 years after she told me to leave, my mother said the shahada. The same mouth that once spoke against what I loved bore witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is His messenger. Only Allah turns hearts like that. Only He writes stories like that. It taught me hope again. It taught me to never call anything impossible. Before her conversion and through all those years, I kept meeting women like me. Women who had embraced Islam and then faced storms, rejection, confusion, isolation, homelessness, abuse, depression. They were told, "Congratulations," on the day they accepted Islam, and then they were left to drown in the days after. I understood that pain. I understood the quiet panic of not knowing how to build a life again. I understood the ache of walking into a masjid and wondering if anyone would meet your eyes, if anyone would notice that you were new and scared. Those meetings turned into a mission. 15 years ago, that mission became Solace. We started with a clear intention: to stand beside women who had embraced Islam and then found their world falling apart. We offered a listening ear, practical advice, emotional support, and when we could, real solutions, housing help, counseling, advocacy. We didn't speak down to them. We didn't dismiss their grief with religious cliches. We honored their struggle. We believed that a woman could be full of faith and full of pain at the same time, and that both deserved to be seen. Building Solace was not a straight path. It was made of prayers whispered before dawn. It was made of volunteers who stayed late and gave more than they had. It was made of women who trusted us with their most fragile stories. I sat with sisters during their first Ramadan alone. I answered calls from women who were terrified to go home. I wrote emails to community leaders asking for help, and I watched help arrive from places I couldn't have predicted. Every success felt like a small miracle. Every setback sent me back to the prayer mat. Throughout, my own memories kept me honest. I remembered the room in North London. I remembered counting coins for groceries. I remembered pressing my forehead to the floor and asking Allah to make a way. Those memories shaped how we serve. They became the compass for every decision. Will this action relieve a burden or add to it? Will this word heal or harm? Will this plan make a woman feel seen or make her feel like a case file? Then, after years of work and years of prayer, my mother's heart changed. I can still see the moment. It arrived quietly, like a door unlocking from the inside. She said the words. She chose the path I had chosen as a teenager. I asked her later to make dua for me. She said, "My dear daughter, Allah is with you. You have nothing to worry about." Those words settled in a place where I had been empty for so long. They didn't erase the past, but they healed it. They were a sign that Allah returns what is lost in ways we could never script. If I could speak to my younger self, I would say, do not rush your story. The dead end at 17 may be the foundation for service at 27, the ground for healing at 37, and the opening for miracles at 47. Hold your salah like a rope. Protect your dignity. Speak the truth with kindness. You will be misunderstood. Some doors will close. You will be tempted to shrink to make others comfortable. Don't. Walk forward with humility. Walk forward with courage. Allah records every step. I have learned to read my life differently. The mockery at the table taught me restraint. The night I packed my bag taught me resolve. The move across the city taught me trust. The long, quiet seasons taught me patience. Nothing was wasted. Not a tear, not a prayer, not a single day where I felt like I was standing still. Allah was writing. Allah was preparing. Allah was turning what hurt into what could help. When I sit with a woman now who cannot see a way through, I can say with certainty, there is a plan. I don't say it to dismiss her fear. I say it because I have lived long enough to watch what looked like loss become a doorway. I have watched Allah turn insult into insight, loneliness into service, and a mother's anger into a mother's dua. I have watched him return what was taken, not in the same shape, but in a better one. If you are listening to this and you are that woman, new to Islam and already drowning in tests, hold on. Your pain is not proof that you chose wrong. Your pain is proof that you are on a path that requires strength and that Allah is near. Ask for help. Accept help. Walk into the masjid again. Send the message again. Cry in sujood again. There is no shame in being broken when you are breaking toward Allah. If you are listening and you are someone who can help, then help. There are women now who need a steady voice, a safe hand, a plan that works. They don't need judgment. They don't need to be told to simply be stronger. They need a community that understands that faith and fragility can live in the same heart and that compassion is part of our religion. My mother's conversion taught me to never close a door Allah has not closed. Hearts can turn in a night. Stories can change in a sentence. What you think is finished may only be paused. Keep praying, keep showing up, keep believing good about Allah. He answers. And when He does, you will see how every wait was planting season. You will see fruit in places you once thought were barren. Today, when I look at the women we serve, I see my 17-year-old self in their faces. I see fear and faith sitting side by side. I tell them, you are not alone. You are not weak for feeling broken. You are strong for still believing. We will walk with you while you rebuild. We will help you hold grief and gratitude in the same hand. We will remind you again and again that Allah is close. This is my story. I became Muslim as a teenager. I lost my home. I found my Lord in a deeper way. I stumbled. I stood up. I served. I watched my mother say the words I prayed she would one day say, and I learned that Allah wastes nothing, that He turns hearts, that He writes the most beautiful endings for those who trust Him through the hardest middles. Hold on. Your story is still being written.